I call to order the Tuesday, December 11th, 2018 meeting of the City of Davenport Historic Preservation Commission. If you have a cell phone or pager, please place it in the silent mode or turn it off. We welcome everyone that is watching us at home on the city's cable TV channel. The Commission has before it the consideration of the November 13th, 2018 regular meeting minutes and the November 13th work session minutes, and the special meeting held on November 15, 2018. Are there any changes, deletions, or additions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the minutes are approved. Are there any communications from commission members tonight? Seeing none, staff?
Just one. I did receive a national register for a downtown district that the downtown partnership has been working for, so that is making its way through the committee process. So I'll bring that forward for you guys to review and provide your recommendation at the January meeting. It's a small east side district, I believe it's called the Motor Historic District. Secondly, just wanted to introduce Brandon Melton. He joined us about 3 or 4 months ago after Wayne Willie retired. So he's been coming down to some of our meetings, so just wanted to introduce Brandon.
Welcome. We're going to change the order of the business tonight as one of the petitioners is not here, so we're going to start with new business, and that's case number DNR HP 18-01, and that's demolish an outbuilding at 1009 College Avenue. The Walker Adams house is individually listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Bell Hammers is the petitioner. Staff report.
So the last meeting, we returned the petition just because there were a couple questions that the commission had, but Mr. Hammis is here today. I spoke with them last week, and I think we were down to just kind of curious about what would happen with the area once the outbuilding was demolished. I'll just summarize staff's position that the outbuilding itself would not achieve consistency with 1723.060B, which is the local landmark nomination. Please recall that in order to save a building on the National Register, you would have to landmark it to save it. There was also an estimate provided in there for repair that far exceeded the value of the building, and I think we were just down to what Mr. Hammis had plans for the area once the building was demolished. And so staff does recommend approval of the request with the clarification that the property owner could provide.
Would you like to address the commission? Please come up to the podium.
I was thinking about fixing this building up, but it's going to cost too much money, and so I'm going to tear it down. And I was trying to look for somebody that would save the lumber off it, because there's some good lumber. And Jack, there's a guy by the name of Jack is going to take the lumber, and I got a guy to take off the roof, and so that's the way it is. And I'm going to put a double garage up there, and I'll get the cement and everything cleaned up, and I'll have a nice looking building there. But I want a double garage so I can store my stuff and maybe a pickup or something in there.
Okay.
Okay?
Are there any questions from commission members? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve case number DNR HP 18-01 as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Cordes, Wanio,
Yes.
Cochran, and Free.
Yes. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you very much. I can leave, right?
the,
Staff, should we move on?
yeah, I did talk to Mr. Washington today, and he mentioned he was bringing over the person that he was with last month, that they worked till 5. He thought he'd be here at 5:10.
It is now 5:10.
Yeah. Perhaps I can discuss where I came
Okay.
with it, and then, hopefully they arrive. So really,
Let me make the
yeah,
case
thank you.
number.
Yep.
Under old business, we have case number COA 18-14, and that's a request of Lewis Washington to erect a new front porch at 810 West 8th Street. The Frederick and Caroline Kermeyer house is located in the local historic Hamburg district. Staff report.
So I just want to preface this with, I work very closely with the building department, and they are very good about if anything's in a historic district, you've got to talk to Ryan, you got to call Ryan, you got to call planning. The situation, the wheels come off when people don't get building permits. And I was kind of frustrated last month. We had 2 requests last month that were in the Hamburg that were built without permits, and then this, and it came to light that about 85 to 90% of it was completed, almost all in pressure treated lumber, and so I don't know how to get through that challenge. The process works when they come to the building department and they say stop, you need to go in front of the Preservation Commission. But when people build things, and I don't know if it's because they don't want to come in front of you, or I have to assume that there's some people are being malicious, some people are being ignorant, and there's a blend of the both. But I don't know how to notify people that they're supposed to get permits for stuff, and that's a bit frustrating. With that being said, this porch it's a 2-story proposed porch. I think the original or the modified porch was removed several years ago. Even if you look through some of the pictures that I took in 2015, you can see siding on the rear of the building. I don't think you guys approved that either. And so the position that the city staff is taking is, what would we do if this was a brand new request? And that's where I came about providing for recommendations. Essentially that the substructure could be pressure treated, but any of the parts, that's the decking, kind of the exterior wrapping, would have to be of a material that's naturally weather resistant or painted. I don't buy into the argument of we can't run the boards perpendicular to the home, because all you need to do is just in between your supports, you just put a cross support, and it's very easily accommodated. So we are suggesting that the decking be removed, that the pressure treated exterior handrails be removed, and the exterior wrapped in that naturally weather resistant material or painted. The exterior of the porch is flush with the sides of the wall, so that would have to be removed, because you don't want to wrap that material, because it's going to stand proud from the house. Let me kind of get to my recommendations. Okay, so that the support structure be allowed to be pressure treated wood, that the exposed pressure treated wood be wrapped or covered with naturally weather resistant or painted wood, that the sides of the porch be flush with the sides of the house, that the vertical supports be wrapped with a round, naturally weather resistant or painted wood, not pressure treated. This was offered by the petitioner last month. I think we had all agreed that round spindles would be more appropriate. That handrails, base rails, and newel posts be replaced with a naturally weather resistant or painted wood, not pressure treated, and that any spindles be round to be compatible with the columns and be naturally weather resistant or painted. The metal rails were certainly appropriate. So that's where we're coming. With the petitioner not here, my suggestion was you rule on the petition as it's presented.
Is there any discussion from commissioners? Commissioner Cordes?
Yeah, I have a question for staff. Have you been over to see the property and,
Yes.
okay? Because my question then is, the drawing, the sketch drawing for this shows the floor above the brick piers, I believe. And I'm having a hard time knowing for sure if a floor is already built.
I think about the only thing that hasn't been installed is the,
So I'm okay with the sideways picture. So the decking is below that iron rail,
yes.
okay, which puts the floor level
Appears the floor level is
below the top of the pier.
6 inches below, roughly, maybe.
Yeah, or even a foot maybe. I'm just pointing that out because the sketch does not show it that way. The sketch indicates that the brick piers are a feature that's below the floor structure, which is appropriate. The craftsman porch that was there had brick piers that were taller, and then the tapered square columns went up from there, but the rail was just below the top of the brick. And this is halfway in between, which doesn't make any sense at all. Other than it looks like a mistake. That being said, I don't know if, that's not near as critical as the issues with the wood, which are mostly addressed, but I guess I'm through with my question.
Yeah. The petitioner is.
What else to say?
The petitioner is here now.
Is there anything the petitioner would like to address the commission? I have a question for the petitioner. You understand that we have a responsibility in a local historic district to maintain certain standards and protect the value of the other surrounding historic buildings. You have seen staff's recommendations to the commission. Do you accept those recommendations?
Can you go up to the podium, please? Will you go to the podium, please? Sir.
Yeah, the questions I have for Lewis, he couldn't answer. You said the spindles need to be round. Are you looking at turn spindles that are fancy or just round spindles? Does it make a difference?
I think we can work with you on that. I think
Okay.
we talked about last meeting, we talked about the large post being wrapped in a round post. You
Yeah,
said
I
you had
have-
some
I have
salvage
some-
materials. I
some
think just
big-
a round spindle would be fine, for the porch.
Doesn't have to be turned and
I don't think so.
fancy, okay. And then, according to this, I may be wrong, but it looks like you're okay if we cover up the deck boards with the type of flooring that you want, rather than pull it all out and redo it, just put it on top of the existing deck boards that we have. That makes
leave
sense.
that for discussion. I understand what you're saying. I don't know what that does to the level of, and what we're covering it with. I mean, I think at the last meeting we talked about something that was like 5/8 inches or something.
Yeah, you were talking about like tongue and groove for flooring, and my question is, can you just put it on top of what's there? That would make it
I
perpendicular.
guess that's dependent upon where your floor level is now. Is your floor level at the level of the stoop of the front door?
I think it's like an inch or so below it, so.
I would be fine with that as a
If it's an inch
compromise.
below, then
Yeah,
a 5/4 board
I'm not sure what it is.
be
but
close.
Yeah.
It'd be close.
What kind of space do you need?
Well, I don't think it needs to. I don't know.
It just needs to fit under the
Yeah,
right.
stoop.
Yeah, just so it's not.
I
so
mean,
don't
if you
fall.
already had the floor level at the stoop level, putting another level on would put it higher
Yeah,
than
no,
the
I
stoop.
understand. And you want the floor, obviously, if it's exposed, you'd want it painted, I'm assuming, the floor.
Yeah, we would. The suggestion was either a naturally weather-resistant wood,
Like cedar or,
or something that was painted.
okay.
And you just can't paint green wood like that. It just won't take it.
Okay.
Commissioner Cortez?
Yes, from my perspective, I don't see an issue with the proper historic flooring being laid on top of the flooring that you may have already installed. Because we won't be able to see, nobody will be able to see
Right.
the inappropriate flooring, you'll be able to see what is appropriate. I would caution you to check with the building department and make sure that they will accept that too.
Okay.
That as far as building codes, that's acceptable, but, and I guess I'm just saying that to make sure that it's clear that what this body approves doesn't necessarily indicate that the building and code department would agree, but we're reviewing the appearance.
And you're okay with the iron railings that are there on the bottom? According to this, it looks like,
That,
or the spindles. I mean,
yes,
not
that
the-
brings me to another question, if it's okay
ahead.
for me to proceed, yeah. There's a sketch drawing of this that shows the railing, and it shows kind of the floor, and it shows the brick piers, and the brick piers appear to be below the floor. And then the photographs, from what we can see, the floor is down below, and the top of the brick pier is midway in that iron railing, which is kind of confusing. You'd expect a brick pier like that to either come just past the top of the railing so that the railing, the two
Butts
things of
up
the railing
against-
would
yeah,
come
yeah.
into the brick pier, then the posts go up from there, or it be a brick pier that the porch floor is supported by, and then it's a wooden column going up from there, if you're following what I'm saying. And it looks like where it is at this point, that it either got built too far or didn't get built far enough, and the importance of being one or the other may have been missed. I don't, is there any way to fix that at this point?
I don't know. Yeah, I would think if you do anything, you'd have to pick the highest pillar and go up to that one, but I'm not really sure what you're asking. You wanted the railings to attach to the,
If it's okay, can I walk up to the?
Yes.
Typically, when you have brick piers supporting the porch, it is one of two ways. Either the brick pier comes up below the floor is resting
Okay.
on the brick pier. Or, in the Craftsman era porch that was on this house at one time, there were brick piers that went up above the railing. So that the railing came and attached into a architectural pier, rather than just a support pier column went from there up. And this is kind of confusing because we've got this
Yep,
top edge of the pier that doesn't relate to anything architecturally the way you'd expect.
I understand what you're saying. Probably the easiest fix on that would be to raise the brick piers so that they're all the same height and so that the railings attach to them at both top and bottom, correct?
Yes. And again,
Yeah, but
I can't answer the ease, which is the easiest, but it,
but that would be acceptable if they were raised up. So you'd have to add a few layers of brick and,
Ryan, could you go to the photo? The 20, or the historic photo of the? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I think that's something we didn't have, which would have been nice. Because that was a question, what did it look like originally? We had the parts, but no idea of how it went together.
Probably gonna need your help again.
Well, the porch that was on it was not the original porch.
Okay.
It was clearly a
We
porch.
just had, all we had was parts.
The original porch was clearly replaced at some time with a craftsman porch. Because the house dates to right after the Civil War.
Here's my question about that. Had they never touched the house, the other porch would have been okay, but because they took it down, because I was told by the guys that we just took it down to restore it, so you'd be able to put it right back up. So am I being measured by the standards of the original house or by the
If
standards?
the porch was in place, you could have repaired the porch. Yes.
And what?
Once the porch comes down, you need a building permit to
I
put a new
I
structure up.
understand that. But when I talked to Jack when I bought the house, he said that he took the porch down to put repairs on it, and that it shouldn't have been a problem with just putting that having the same.
Jack
standards
was
of-
incorrect. Once the porch was taken down, then it requires a building permit.
Even though it was taken down for repair's sake.
It was taken completely down.
Okay.
It requires a building permit.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not arguing
Yeah.
the building permit. I'm not arguing the building permit.
Because
at
the
all.
original porch probably didn't even sit on piers.
Exactly. I'm not arguing the building permit. I'm arguing the fact that was the porch that was on before it was taken off, was that under the same standards that we're based upon right now?
Don't know because that porch was built way in the past.
Okay. Because we noticed.
Yeah, I have any photos of
We're noticing that on the porch that was up there was actually square, what was that part we showed in the picture?
in the picture. That's the craftsman style that he's talking about.
Okay. The square part that goes up?
Yeah, and craftsman era was after Civil War period, so
Yeah.
Craftsman area was 1920s and 30s. So
just so I understand to help Lewis understand, I guess, is what we're suggesting is to raise the brick piers so that the railings attach appropriately and look good, and then on top of that I have round columns that would wrap around the square posts that are there, and then cover up all of the exposed treated lumber except for the framing the substructure, correct?
yes,
And then, at this point, you're okay covering up with new flooring, covering up what's there, at least from.
if you're able to do that.
Yeah, from a historical perspective.
Because your flooring can't be higher than the door stoop.
Right. But just from a.
But it sounds like you're about an inch below, so
Yeah.
it sounds like you should be able to just
Yep.
gently push it under the door stoop.
Yeah,
Commissioner Cordes?
yeah, I think that's, so I think just so I understand where we're going with it, so it sounds like we just need to wrap it and hide the treated lumber and do a few more things to it.
I want to try to answer Lewis's question because I'm not sure it was understood. I think what he's asking is in our review, are we saying that it has to be the porch that was original, or could it be, the porch that was removed?
Right.
And in a house like this, it has a long, complicated history. There is the original built condition. And I think a previous owner, because of the condition of the porch that was there at one time, wanted to take it down and wanted to restore it all the way back to that
Yes, sir.
original
That's
appearance.
what they wanted to do, yeah.
However, and I, in my words here, I'm not speaking for all of the commission, but in my understanding, that also this second porch would be appropriate construction for you to do, for you to restore to that as opposed to restore to the very original. That either one can be justified, and you can make the case and say, yes, this, because that is, at one time, that was the part of the history of the house. And you're going back to that period as opposed to going all the way to day one. And so it's one of those things that either one would be appropriate. Now,
And actually, these pillars are not perfectly square, they're tapered. And that's a
Correct.
Which is the craftsman style.
And if we're gonna go to that work, and I've got the colonial pillars that are like this big around, they would cover up the square posts with no problem. We might as well use what would look more appropriate, I think. Also, it'd be a lot easier to build if I already had them, so.
Okay.
But that makes sense, yeah, we'll just do that, so. I think I understand everything that you're saying, so.
And the only comment I had was I guess the structural support for will be, I guess, the top story is flush with the side of the house. And so if that's pressure treated, is that replaceable? Because you can't wrap the end because it won't be flush with the sides of the house. Does that make sense? So the porch, the way it's built, right, the sides of the porch kind of dead end into the house, and it's flush with the house, right? So, but if you wrap, just like the porch decking discussion, if you wrap the side of that, it's going to stand proud from the side of the house.
By 3/4 of an inch on both sides.
I think we would be able to cover it with different material all the way up to the brick, or is that what you're saying?
I guess what I'm saying is, so you have the side of the house here, and the side of the porch is here,
House where it's flat.
right? And so if you're wrapping it, you're going to be standing proud from the house.
I understand what you're saying now, I was confused. Yeah, that shouldn't be too much of a problem to simply take off one of those rafters.
That's okay. That's where I wanted to.
That's a simple
Yes.
fix. Yeah, I just wasn't sure what you were saying.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah, I understand that.
And I.
That part's easy enough. Yeah, I got that from the note. So
Okay.
that would just move it over
Yeah, and I
quarters of an inch, yeah.
appreciate Commissioner Corda's comments about this being a conceptual design. I think our next
Yeah.
stop is to sit down with the building department and talk through what the
Yep.
requirement is for getting a building permit.
So you're comfortable with the suggestions that Ryan has for us tonight?
Yeah, I understand what you're.
The only,
And then in addition to raising the brick piers?
and then, so we would modify condition number 4, that the deck boards could be overlaid with some appropriate material. So the only other question I have is, how do you deal with the treads and the risers of the stairs?
Have to be rebuilt, that
Okay. Certainly well, yeah, it wouldn't be that much. The substructure could certainly remain as pressure treated. Okay.
It would just replace the risers and the
Yep.
treads.
And everything's screwed together, so it comes apart,
Yep.
you know, rather than nailed.
Okay. Commissioner Warnio.
I do have a question about the brick piers. You're looking at raising them? Or is there a specific height on how high they need, or, I mean, I'm,
Just above railing height, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I have a Craftsman home, and it's exactly like Commissioner Cordes described. That the brick comes up, and then there's a cap above where the railing would be.
Right. Right, right. I've got a house in Rock Island in the Broadway area that is that way, so.
Okay.
And it's a wraparound porch that has round pillars on top of the piers, but it has those. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Okay. All right, yeah, that makes sense.
Is staff comfortable with amended conditions?
Yes, so we're gonna increase the height of the piers to be, that the cap be above the railing and that the porch railing kind of dead end into the brick, and the added language about the allowance for overlaying the deck with naturally weather resistant wood or painted wood. So I got both of those.
Okay. Any other discussion from the commission? I would entertain a motion to approve COA 18-14 as amended.
I so move.
Is there a second? Any discussion on the amended motion? Hearing none, staff.
Lonio? Franken? Cochran? Cordis? And Free.
Yes. Thank you very much. We have no other business tonight. Is there anyone that would like to address the commission tonight in public forum? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the commission is adjourned.